Hi everyone, my name is Raven. Welcome back to my channel, and today I will be talking about my October wrap-up. Alright, hello. I'm going to be talking about my October wrap-up. So, in total, I read a total of 4 books. And that would be these 4 books right here. Okay, I guess I shall pick one I read. Okay, we're going to talk about The Girl with All the Gifts. I read this in audiobook form, and I also followed along with it. And this is basically about a girl named Melanie, and she's on this army base, and when she comes in the mornings, there's these soldiers that come in and say, hey, can you share? You know, they kind of strap her up and everything, and she goes to a class and she gets taught all these different things, but she doesn't quite understand why. You know, she's in this chair, but she kind of just does whatever they tell her to do. And eventually she kind of gets really, really close with her teacher named Miss Destiny, and Miss Destiny actually ends up getting a little bit of attached to the children, because she sees them as children, because, you know, she doesn't see that they're zombies, but like the children, you find out that they don't know that they're zombies until they kind of just figure it out on their own. Really, Melanie figures it out on her own, because she's a lot smarter than the others. She's more observant, and she kind of just notices here and there, hey, there's these kids that's kind of disappearing here and there. Like, one kid gets taken away and you don't see them again, and she just starts asking these questions, and they start catching on, and then she kind of notices like something's really off, and she eventually finds out on her own too that, oh, this is what I am. And eventually she ends up getting taken away herself into this little laboratory where they're about to do experiments on her, but Miss Jessie actually ends up stopping it. She's like, no, you're not going to do this. And an outbreak of the other bad zombies actually end up invading the army base. And because of that, she ends up getting away, and then Sergeant Parks ends up going with them, which he was really mean to her, but he ends up actually liking Miss Jessie. It's a little weird little relationship there, but they actually end up getting away. But as you see throughout the book, Melanie actually ends up having control over her urges, like to eat people or whatnot, because Miss Destiny actually ended up coming into her cell at one point, and she kind of freaked out a little bit, but she gains control of that, which I found that very interesting, that she has control over that. And basically they kind of just figure out what they're going to do, and Melanie figures out more about herself. So basically that's basically what this book is basically about, is her and figuring out her zombiness, you know. So I believe I gave this like 5 stars, because I really, really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed the struggle that Miss Destiny has, and also the struggle that Melanie has of figuring out who she is and like why she is this, and, you know, that kind of thing. And it's almost heartbreaking, like, because you're like, when she finds out, you're figuring it out along with her almost, you know. And it's like, oh, you feel for her, because she's just like stuck in the situation where she's like, she's a good person, but she's also a zombie, you know. I really, really like that too. And the ending was kind of surprising, which I'm not gonna spoil that. I feel like I spoiled little things in there. My bad. When I end up talking, I spoil a little bit of things, but I highly recommend reading. This was a great read. And another book I read this month was Dracula. And I listened to this. This has been my 3rd time reading it. I listened to it audibly as well and followed along with it. And oh my goodness, Glob. Oh my god. Okay. The audiobook that I listened to it on the Libby app. And the audiobook that I listened to, it had different voice actors in it, and it had sound effects. Like, if they was talking about, like, in the beginning part where where Jonathan Harker is like going to Castle Dracula, and there's wolves like howling over it, you get that howling of the wolves be like in the background while he's narrating. And whenever they're talking about like the seas, and how like these men on like the ship are disappearing left and right and stuff like that, you hear like the winds of the high seas, and like the water and everything, and the seagulls going off. And I absolutely enjoyed that. It was such a phenomenal experience I got with this. the third time around, that I would highly recommend at least the audiobook that has the multiple voice actors and the sound effects in the background. I would highly recommend it, and just do it. And I feel like everyone kind of knows what Dracula's about, but this is about Dracula. But it's told in journal format and articles and like perspectives of different characters. Although Dracula, he's only in like the first little bit, like I would say maybe this part, and like in the like the very end, you basically hear Dracula from like the point of views of other people, like their experiences of him, or if he's like in the form of a bat or a mist or of a wolf or something like that. So you really only get to hear from him really only from the different perspectives of people who have encountered him, like of their experiences with him. And I would say, honestly, like my favorite character in this whole story, besides like Dracula, I guess, would be Renfield. He's the lunatic that's in the asylum that who just studies him. I can't think of who it is. It's another John or something. I forget. Seward, Dr. Seward. There we go. Dr. Seward is studying him because he has zoo of something. I can't say it. It's where like you have the need to consume life or whatever, and he basically is studying him, and for some reason like Dracula gets a hold of him and has him under like this control where he's kind of like using him in a way to kind of get information, I guess. I don't know, he's just using him, I guess. I don't know. That really wasn't really fully explained, but I liked how he was like, how he could be like freaking out one moment and like being a lunatic, but then another moment he could be like a very sane, calm, intelligent man, you know, just having like these intelligent conversations about, you know, like life and everything and things. But then he can go back to like eating flies. He was eating flies, and he was using the flies to catch the spiders, and then he used the spiders to catch the bird, and he was trying to eat the bird. But like I loved how he can easily like switch back and forth, being a lunatic to being a smart and intelligent man, having these conversations. Like he was having a conversation with like Mina Harker, and like he was such a nice and intelligent gentleman to her, just having like a nice calm conversation. And then like I think a couple scenes later he was like freaking out and everything, because at one point he's like begging to like, okay, there's two people walking down my street, I'm sorry, that like distracted me. I saw that in my peripheral and I'm like, but like he begged by saying like he can just switch so easily, and I liked that character dynamic with him, and how in the end he ends up just dying, and it's like, dang, he really, they offed him that quickly, but he actually ends up helping them in the capture of Dracula in the end, so that he got to redeem himself in the end. So I really like the redemption at the end of his character as well. But I thoroughly enjoyed this. I think this is my favorite, I think it's my favorite book of all time, besides like the Vampire Lestat. But I think this was written in 1897, so I actually want to get a tattoo of some form of maybe that year, maybe not the name Nosferatu on my arm or somewhere, because I loved this book so much. And I remember I've actually seen the 1922 movie based off this book that was actually a rip off, but you know, I'm not gonna get in that discussion. I've seen the movie like a couple times. I think I've only seen like the 1930 something film of Dracula with Bela Lugosi like one time, but like, because I can never really find it. So, but I've seen Nosferatu, the 1922 version of this, like 2 or 3 times. I absolutely love it. So, actually, I want to get a tattoo of some form of this. I love this book so much. So much so this is my favorite book of all time so far. Number 1. I'm saying it right now. There you go. That's it. And another book I read was another reread, and that was The Shining. And you've probably saw my reading vlog of this. I actually did finish it, so I didn't finish on on part 2, but as you can tell, I discussed a lot of the things that were discussed about how slowly Jack Torrance ends up going into madness and all that stuff. Again, I gave this 5 stars because I absolutely enjoyed it. I love how Stephen King written. I don't know why I keep saying wrote. I'm sorry. I know this it makes me sound illiterate, but I'm not illiterate, I swear. Just for some reason, when I say wrote, I like the way he wrote Danny in this book, because he writes him in a way of how you would think a child would think, you know, like thing of how, like, for example, how he's talking about how one of his friends, one of his schoolmates' father actually ends up being put into an institute because he ends up losing his mind because he had so much stress on him. But he saw it as like the men in white coats take him out because he lost his marbles. Like an actual kid thinking, like, you know, when if a kid is a little off or something, I guess, kind of has sees things or something, he would think, I don't want the men in white coats to take me up like they did that kid's father. Like, an actual kid would think that, and I loved it. And if you didn't know, this is about a family, the Torrance family, who ends up going to this hotel, and Jack Torrance is the caretaker who's taking care of the hotel, but things just end up going bad in the end, in case you didn't know. But I feel like everyone knows what The Shining is, so I really don't need to do a summary, and I can just spoil if I want, because everyone knows what The Shining is, everyone knows the movie, so, but the endings are totally different. But I would highly recommend this for a Halloween read. It's very, very spooky, and it's a really good read, you know, a lot of character development and all that. Love it. And I loved how the slow descent of Jack Torrance's madness goes, and you see the hints of it, you know, and you know that, you know, he in the end he's gonna go all nuts, not so crazy. And it's like, you know, this family, like, they were already broken before, but they're trying to put the pieces back together, and it's like you're seeing it, and you're seeing the good progress that they're making, but you know that in the end it's gonna go really bad and you can't do nothing about it. But it's really good in that sense because it makes you care about the characters. So recommend this book, 5 stars. And the next book I read, was actually the first book I actually read in the month, was Catching Fire. What you saw in my reading vlog, it's, you know, the continuation of the Hunger Games, and you basically follow her through her living as a tribute, and how that has effect on her, the way, like, how she actually doesn't know the effect that she had on the districts when she was in the games until she's actually visiting the tributes in the districts while she's doing her tribute. What is it? The tribute thing where they're going, their little campaign that they're doing. They say hi, thank you, whatever, that kind of thing. But then she doesn't realize it until she sees it, and she's like, dang, I really do have a big impact. And even then, when she goes back in the game, she ends up realizing that I am a symbol that I really need to rise up to the occasion. And you really follow her through that story. Then it just leaves you on a cliffhanger. Oh my god, did I tell you it was oh my god, the ending. I think I told you about it, like, in my reading vlog, where, like, in the end she goes, Katniss, there is no District 12. I was like, what? Because that ending was just great, and I can't wait to get to the third one, but as you can't tell, it's going to be a whole week's reading vlog on that, because I can't wait to get to it. So this I gave 5 stars as well, because it was just phenomenal how you really get to you feel like you almost are Katniss, in the way, you know, you feel how she feels, like, I didn't mean for this all to happen, it's what I look out for my family. But you really realize and feel how she feels about, you know, I really have to really rise up to this big responsibility that she has. You feel like, you know, am I really ready for this? What am I going to do? That kind of thing. And at this point, she's like 17, I want to say. Like, you have to think, like, a 17-year-old girl to have this big responsibility and pressure on her shoulders to start to carry this revolution for all, like, 12 districts, or at least 11 districts now. That's hard for anyone to even like a 30-year-old to do, if you're not alone a 17-year-old girl to do. And that responsibility weighs very heavily on her, and her constant thought is, what about my family? You know, she's always has that in the back of her mind at all times, and you really feel that throughout this whole entire book. So I know I'm a little late to reading these, but I absolutely love them so far. 5 stars. And that is basically all the books I read this month. All 5 of those. I think I had a pretty good reading month. Oh, and I also started, if you know, you know, It by Stephen King. And I also started Clockwork Prince, somewhere in there. But I obviously didn't finish them. This, I'm about a little more than halfway, honestly. A little bit more than halfway, but I'm about 60% of the way through this. And with this behemoth, I'm about like this. So I did start these in October, but so I'm just going to leave these since I did start them. We know what it is. I'm really not going to discuss it because it's it. We know what it is. We've all seen the movies and everything. We've all discussed it. But I did start those two in the month of October as well. So I think I've had a pretty successful reading month, which I'm happy with. I think all of them were 5 stars. Yeah, all of them were 5-star reads. So that's great. All of my books are 5-star reads that I completed this month. So I guess I'm just going to end this video because I have nothing else to discuss. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I wasn't really planning on doing it, but I was like, what the heck, I'll do it anyway, since I do have kind of a nice shirt on. And, you know, I'm kind of been a bit busy bee today, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe, do all them things that you want to do. And I hope you guys are having a lovely morning, day, evening, night, wherever you guys are at in the world. And hopefully I will see you in my next video. Bye!